Hey, it's your friend Choice CJ here, and this is my Week 2 battle of the PMC Season Number 2. We are going up against Dr. V, coach of the Colorado Rapidashes. Good buddy of mine, helped me gen my mons in the D-League. Very cool guy, good battler, and very scary team. Let's go ahead and look at the mons that we have this week. We brought, in case you missed our team builder, we have a Choice Scarf Breloom, a physically defensive Salamence, a physically defensive Volcarona, especially defensive Mesprit, a physically defensive Sylveon with a Calm Mind and Reflect, and also a Life Orb Tornadus. And Dr. V has brought Blastoise, Weavile, Espeon, Vaporeon, Entei, and Landorus Incarnate. Now, his team is going to be very hard to deal with. I don't deal particularly well with bulky waters, and he happens to have two of them, which is really frustrating. Weavile is a huge problem for my team. It can basically, it can revenge like 5 out of 6 mons that are on my team. The only things that I guess it can't revenge are like maybe Sylveon and Volcarona, or if my Breloom is somehow choice locked into Mach Punch. Entei is really scary. I only have Salamence really to deal with it. Otherwise, I can check it offensively with Tornadus, because Entei does not really want to take a Life Orb Hurricane. And then the Landorus is also really scary. I've got Mesprit to take it on, and that's not bad. I also again have the Tornadus to check it offensively with Hurricane, just because he doesn't have a single flying resist on his whole team. I really wanted to bring offensive Mence, but I really needed it for the Entei, because he also doesn't have a Dragon Resist. So anyway, that's enough of the team preview. Let's think about hopping into this battle here. I am just going to lead off with my Choice Scarf Breloom, because I'm thinking it's going to be a good opportunity for me to put something to sleep. And that'll give me some momentum starting this match. So he is going to lead off, however, with the Landorus Incarnate. Now, I get a little bit of cold feet here. I'm worried about this thing potentially being Choice Scarf and sniping me with a U-turn. So I make kind of a weird play and go out into my Mesprit. As you're going to see, this is actually going to do a ton of damage, revealing to me that he's like fully physically offensive. In my mind, if he was Choice Scarf and with a timid nature, I was okay with taking a U-turn, because this Weavile would come in, of course, but I would have this Colbur Berry that you see here, and I should have been able to live or come pretty close. But taking that much damage from the U-turn make that completely impossible. I don't know if he was packing Pursuit or not, but you know, obviously I didn't want to. I'd rather just try and get off some damage if he was Pursuit, and then I don't think that would have killed after my Colbur Berry. So I go into Volcarona because that's my quote-unquote check for Weavile, and I go for a Will-O-Wisp. He brings in Vaporeon and dodges, which is a little unfortunate for me. Not obviously because it hurts this thing's physical attack, but more because the residual damage would have been really great, because this Vaporeon is a big issue. But I switch into Sylveon, has no problem taking on this thing. I luckily dodge a burn from the Scald. Now, he has a lot of options here, mainly being the Entei. If a thing is banded and has Sacred Fire, it's going to do a ton to this Sylveon. So I go for the Reflect, so that way I can both protect this Sylveon and then potentially protect the Salamence that's going to be coming in. That little +2 defense really makes a big difference. I think the screens are just really good moves in general. But he does go into the Blastoise as I go for that Reflect. Goes for the Flash Cannon. I'm not surprised that he decided to pack this coverage. Very good prep on his part. I go for the Wish. So based on the damage calcs that I did and the my investment and things like that, I know I can live 2, go for a Wish, and then prepare to set up a Calm Mind on the second turn. So barring a Spadef drop or a crit, I'm going to be in good shape. I luckily dodged both of those, and I am able to set up a Calm Mind. Then I am going to recover from my Wish, and all of a sudden I am looking like a threat to this Blastoise and to this team. If the Entei switches in while I don't have the Reflect up, he can probably take me on pretty well, but not even the Landorus wants to come in right now. It can't do a ton of damage to me with Sludge Wave, especially since it's looking like he's not specially invested. He doesn't have much special attack investment. And the Weavile gets Clean O-Code by Hyper Voice. As you can see here, he starts going for Scalds rather than Flash Cannon, which I think is actually a pretty decent choice. He's just fishing for the burn here and trying to hinder my survivability with a Scald Burn is probably going to be his best way to deal with this. So anyway, he goes for a Scald here. My Reflect just expires. I go for Reflect again, so that way the Entei can't switch in, and he gets a crit, which really sucks because now there's nothing that I can do. I can't. He can 2-hit KO me with the Scald, or Flash Cannon. It's fine, and I can't go for a Wish to get back up to full HP because my moves are Reflect, Calm Mind, Wish, and Hyper Voice. So my only choice is to take out the Blastoise and let this thing go down to whatever he wants to bring in. Now he does choose to bring in the Espeon, which is fine with me. I let my Sylveon go down because, again, I have no way of getting this thing back to full. I don't have Protect. And I go into Tornadus because I'm expecting him to fear the knockoff. He stays in with the Espeon as I go for a U-turn. I figure U-turn is still like a decent middle ground play, and it keeps my momentum if he switches out, but it still does a good bit of damage to Espeon. It doesn't kill, which is pretty unfortunate for me. Like I knew from the calcs that it wasn't going to kill, but I was just expecting so much that he would switch out. So I'm really caught off guard by this, and I don't really know what to do. So I go into my Volcarona. I don't really know how much something like Psyshock is going to do, so I switch out into Salamence. And it takes the Psyshock. Like I just don't. I'm wondering if he's going to switch out with the Volcarona or with the Espeon on the Volcarona, or what exactly his plan is. But so the Salamence, I guess, was kind of a scout, but I know I can't stay in there because he's just going to click HP Ice again. So I take the HP Ice, no problem. I'm just going to go for Roost and soak up this Psyshock. But just to go back again to the knockoff play for a second, in the match I was pretty confused as to why he basically decided to sack his Espeon. But I thought about it after the match, and the thing is that he has a Weavile, which can, as I mentioned at the beginning of the match, can revenge anything on my team. So even if I stayed in and clicked knockoff, he would have just brought in the Weavile, and I would have had to figure out how to deal with that thing. So Espeon going down would have been bad, but he just would have been able to trade kill for kill. So my Breloom comes in because the Landorus switches in on Volcarona. I'm expecting the Rock Slide because I do know that this thing is physically offensive. And I do put it to sleep this time. I'm really wishing that I had clicked it turn 1, because after all of that, we learned that he was not Choice Scarf, he was Life Orb. But anyway, we put it to sleep, we switch on to our Salamence, and he wakes up on the first turn and goes for Rock Slide. Conveniently, we do have the Charty Berry. The Charty Berry was to live a Stone Edge from a Entei more easily, which would have been great. It's nice that the Landorus is physically offensive, because Salamence is a pretty decent check to it in that way. It's just now that the Salamence is under a lot of pressure because it has to wall the two biggest offensive threats on his team. And when I say that, I mean just in terms of the raw power. Obviously Weavile is a huge threat too, but it doesn't necessarily have the raw power. It just has the speed and the coverage to really take us on. So anyway, this Vaporeon comes out, and now that I don't have the Sylveon, I don't have anything that can switch into this. So I go into Volcarona, and I am at least expecting the Ice move, which I know that we can take, but his Ice move is actually Icy Wind, which really sucks for us, because now our Volcarona is slower than the Vaporeon. If it was Ice Beam, we could have maybe gone for 2 Giga Drains on this. But now he can't. He 2-hit KOs us with Scald. So I'm thinking, crap, this really sucks. I can't deal with this thing. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and switch into my Breloom here, because it's the only thing that can threaten this thing. But I am in the hole. I need to start making some plays. So I double out into the Tornadus expecting the Entei. Not because the Tornadus is a great defensive counter for the Entei, but because I need to start applying some offensive pressure. But he again leaves in another Pokemon, leaves it in to die, and just clicks Icy Wind. And, as I mentioned, it actually isn't a huge deal, because if this Vaporeon died, even though it's a huge threat to my team, I don't think it was actually the right decision to sack it. He could just go into Weavile or go into Entei and put on a lot of pressure. I think the Entei is what I was really expecting. Like, I didn't want to click Bullet Seed and have the Entei come in for free. But anyway, this Tornadus, it's at now 5 HP. We went for Hurricane once and missed, but fortunately he missed an Icy Wind. Then we went for Hurricane the next turn, did like 40%. And we have no choice but to switch out, because if the chances of me winning this game are so unlikely, certainly, but I need Tornadus if there's any chance of me living. Maybe his Weavile is genned incorrectly. It doesn't have enough speed IVs or speed EVs to outspeed Tornadus or something like that. So I do sack my Mens here just because I'm kind of out of options. I'm going to go into my Breloom here, and I still don't want to click Bullet Seed because it's a free switch in for the Entei. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to click Spore, and I'm going to hope that whatever comes in here stays asleep for more than one turn. But he does just let the Vaporeon go to sleep. That's fine with me. That's why I didn't want to make the prediction again. Because, if he stays in, at least I can put this threat to sleep. And if he does switch out, then, whatever's coming in, if it's the Entei, instead of trying to go for Bullet Seed on it, we can go for Spore and neutralize a big threat. But now this thing, he is gonna switch out, and this is actually probably the best play of the game from Dr. V. He knew at this point that I was Scarfed and that I'm locked into Spore. I only have one other Mon that I can switch in, and I have to switch out of my Breloom at this point. So he goes into Weavile. It's a very, very safe play, very, very smart play, and he takes out my Tornadus, and I'm down to my last Mon. I'm just hoping that he gets overconfident and that I can snipe off his Weavile with this Mach Punch here, but he's too good for that. Brings in the Vaporeon. If this thing can get a first turn Wake here, he can kill me with an Icy Wind. We are going to go for a Mach Punch again, and he is going to stay asleep. So thankfully, we're at least going to be able to get one kill with our Breloom onto this Vaporeon here. But once this Vaporeon goes down, he can easily bring in another Mon and take me out, and I will have nothing left. So at this point, you guys can see that we are going to be taking our first loss of the PMC season. We are now 1-1 with a -2 differential, and Dr. V is right at the top of the division. Depending upon the outcome of the game between the Verd and Kingdra, Dr. V could be tied for first. I'll let you guys go watch those battles and see the results for yourselves. But the Landorus is going to come in, land a couple of Earthquakes, and take me out. It's nice that he brought in the Landorus just to pad the kill count for that Pokemon, which is a really big threat in this league. So anyway, I was pretty upset when this match took place the first time. Because I'm like, why did you let those Pokemon die? Like, it easily could have killed them, and you wouldn't have had, you wouldn't have those Pokemon left. Looking at it afterwards, one, I have to remind myself that it's just a game, and that, at the end of the day, none of this really matters. That's not to say, like, I'm not trying to cheapen his win or anything. I'm just saying, like, we need to, like, remind ourselves, like, not to take things too seriously, and that we're all trying to just have a good time. But then I also, had to think about the fact that, okay, well, if he did let those Pokemon go down, as I had been alluding to in the match, he could just go out to Weavile and then get a kill. So it didn't really matter at the end of the day, if he decided to sack those Mons. I had a kind of a switch in for the Weavile being the Volcarona. I can take 2 knockoffs, go for a Will-O-Wisp, and then I can follow up with a Roost. But, you know, he probably wouldn't stay in on the Volcarona after he went for the first knockoff. You know, especially since he had already seen my Will-O-Wisp earlier in the game on the Vaporeon. Or maybe he didn't notice it, I don't know. Because it missed, unfortunately. But, you know, it is what it is. Yeah, I don't think those plays were all too risky after I thought about it a little bit more. And really all we got to do now is kind of go back to the drawing board, get ready for a Week 3 match against Kingdra, who has a really scary team. And we'll just kind of have to take comfort in the fact that we are going to get an opportunity to battle Dr. V again later this season. So this is a well-played game, Dr. V. I'm going to be really motivated to take you on in our rematch. I'm going to bring a squad that's better prepared for your threats, and I'm really going to give it my all. I'm not going to make any of these silly plays where I sack off my Mesprit turn 2 and catch myself over-predicting and things like that. So I wish you the best of luck. I hope that we meet later in the season. We both have great records, and it's just you know, the match of the season. So anyway, do want to thank you guys for watching. Please be sure to check back for more Pokemon content, and until the next time, I will see you all later.